This is Pastor Moira Ahern Parkinson. I'm the visitation pastor at Our Savior Lutheran Church in Jamaica, New York. And welcome to this midweek devotional. We've come to the end of January and we're starting a new month of February. All is quiet and still, right? No, not quite. My favorite holiday is just right around the corner, February 2nd, Groundhog's Day. You know the story of the groundhog. On February 2nd, it is said that the groundhog comes out of his den, and if he sees his shadow, he's afraid and scurries back into his den, and that means that it's another 6 weeks of winter. But if he comes out and he doesn't see his shadow, it's cloudy, and so there's no shadow there, it means that he'll come out, and it means then the spring is around the corner. You can imagine these stories about and that are like the groundhog story that emerged out of pre-Christian agrarian societies centuries ago, for centuries. Imagine the people of that of old, no electricity, no central heating, insecure food sources. And by this time, when they were just halfway, midpoint between winter, they were sick and tired of the cold. They were hungry, and they were yearning for light. And so they were looking at nature and seeing what was about them that was stirring, that could give them hope that spring was right around the corner. And that's how the story of the groundhog eventually came with the German immigrants and settled in the United States and in Canada. It's a wonderful story, isn't it? But you know what? There's more to it than that. And there's more to February 2nd than just Groundhog's Day. There's a whole Christian layer to the story. If you recall from Luke 2, we have the story of Jesus' presentation in the temple. It turns out that February 2nd is 40 days after Jesus' birth. And according to Jewish law in Leviticus 12, a woman who's given birth to a son has to present an offering in the temple. This was her purification offering. And if it was her firstborn son, they had to dedicate this son to God. And we read in Luke 2 how Joseph and Mary brought Jesus to the temple to be dedicated, and they brought their offering for purification as well. And while they were there, a very devout and righteous man named Simeon takes baby Jesus in his arms, and he just praises God and says in this prayer, "Master, you can now dismiss your servant in peace according to your word. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the presence of all peoples, a light of revelation to the Gentiles for the glory of your people Israel." Again, this feast day became known as the Feast of the Presentation of the Lord, or the Purification of Mary. But it's about Jesus being the light coming into the world, and that the light was going to be for all people. Now, there's even another layer to that. And the Christian tradition calls February 2nd the name of a Candlemas. Candlemas was the day in the church when all the candles, all the light that they had at that time, those candles would be blessed in the church, and there would be processions of the light. Imagine what that meant to those people, again, who were midway in winter, right halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, halfway there, just waiting for the light to come back into the world. And so we who have light all around us, we too should be celebrating light, the light that is within us and around us. So how do we celebrate it this week? One thing is, I invite you to light a candle and thank God for the light that is in your life. Read Luke 2, the story of Jesus' presentation in the temple, and read about how read that prayer again from Simeon and his words to Mary and Joseph. Watch the movie Groundhog's Day. It's a wonderful movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and it talks about how a man has to confront his shadow, the things where he is callous and mean-spirited, and things that he does poorly, and how he eventually becomes a man who is kind and compassionate and giving and caring. It's a wonderful movie. It's a good thing to reflect upon during this week. One other thing would be to let us look at our own shadows, our own bad habits, things that we're not proud of, things that we keep from other people, the parts of ourselves that we don't show others, that we're not proud of. And let us bring those things to God in the light and ask God to heal those parts of us that are broken, that we keep back and we don't want anyone to see. And finally, let us be the light. Let us put ourselves in God's hands and ask God to shine his light through us to the world.